totally down with that.
Dude, his view's freaking rad.
Yeah. All right, we are live. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the Ask an Enemy podcast live. I do have with me Ed from Lightning at the Opera.
Hello.
And a special guest who I didn't actually think was going to show up. It just came out of nowhere. But I'm actually like super honored that you're here, man. This is Mike from...
The royalty?
The motherfucking royalty! We got the royalty up on this bitch. So actually, dude, I wanted to say first things first, man, because have you guys tried the pretzel dogs at fucking Sonic?
No.
No, they're fucking good, dude.
Really?
Yeah, they're fucking good. Sorry, I just had to make a point of that. They're fucking good, dude. But anyways, I do have Ed from Lightning at the Opera. He's playing the CD release tomorrow, July 26th at Tricky Falls. So if you guys can stop by, it's a free show. We have the Human Condition, Never Too Late, and Lightning at the Opera. The show starts at 8:30. And I just wanted to ask Ed some questions and, you know, get you guys familiar with Lightning at the Opera if you've never seen him before. I mean, I'm not just being biased about it, dude. You guys are good, man. You guys are a good fucking band. And the thing I like about you guys the most too is that you're, you know, not too many bands in this town are very professional, and you guys are, you know. And a lot of people tend to take that as like professional means you guys are like egotistical and you guys step on people's toes to like just do what you want. But professional to me means you guys know your shit, you know what you want, you know, you have a good product, and you know.
Well, I think that has to do a lot with just playing for a long time and getting fucked and getting fucked. Where, you know, I believe in karma, man, and
right,
and that whole essence of just not being professional, but just being nice, man. You know, that just goes along. And you get fucked, But at the end of the day, man, it's like, it's hard. But we love playing. That's what it is. That's what it's all about.
Well, and then you go ahead and say what you do in the band.
Well, I play guitar and I sing for the group, and I cause a lot of problems too.
What do you mean cause a lot of problems?
Nah, I don't cause a lot of problems.
You cheat on the other people's wives and stuff?
Nah, man. I give them a hard time, you know, just like everything else. They're like my brothers, so... I mean, even the recent Andrew, who just came in from, you know, out of town...
Is that the bass player?
Yeah, the new bass player,
right.
And he just matched with us just perfectly, you know, and he talks about, you know, coming in and just like, no, we go right to Mexican, making fun of your ass.
Right.
Like, here, feel at home. And now it's just more like we can see him now coming out of his shell, and now he's just like part of the group, and
right.
I mean, it's awesome.
That's cool, man. So who else is in the band?
Bobby, he used to play with other groups behind, and then Chris, which we call Butch.
Right.
I played with him before with the old groups and stuff, and you know, I took a couple of years off of music, you know, but you know, it's just that itch, man. It's always been there.
Right.
And
well, yeah, Mike and I were talking before you got here about how, you know, like he had a project that he started with you too. And I don't know if I told you this also, man, but you know, Ed and I played when we kicked Mike out of Devices and Shift. He was a singer for a while too, and that was fun.
I remember that. I remember that time. You know, we got a lot of history. Me and Ed, we've known each other for a long time. I've known you, JC. Probably we all.
Yeah, we've all known each other, and that's what I dig about that, man. Is that we're still doing this, you know, like how you mentioned, dude.
Yeah.
There's still people our age, our friends who have gotten married, had kids, and that's it. They don't fucking do anything.
But the story
anymore.
goes for, I think, people like us is that like we you know, played music like for a long time, and then like, you know, kind of got out of the game for a little while, a few years. There was a moment where I wasn't playing with anybody, you weren't playing with. We talked about forming a band. You remember that?
Right, that's right.
And like we were both into like the same groups, so, you know, like player piano and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to feel each other out, and I remember those were great times because that was kind of a transitional period, I guess, for you, because like your old band had you know, like called it Quits, which I was a huge fan of.
Was that Unity 150?
Yeah, Unity.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh man, that
was good times, man.
For those of you who don't know, man, this band was amazing. Oh my god, the fun shows we had with my old band. We used to play a lot together, and then JC used to be there along the lines.
Yeah,
like, you know,
fuck it. I mean, that's how I met Ed.
That's how I met all you guys.
Yeah, just playing shows. Because that's what I was telling Mike, is like the first time I think we met was when we played at Peanut Gallery. And it was with his band 6 Under Par.
Wow, man.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Yeah. And fucking Augustus, fucking, hey, what? Hey, you got the volume up?
There's so many
Fucking old
people,
man, dude.
you know, there's so
Okay,
many
dude.
people that I still talk to that remember us playing those shows. And I was like, man, like, and you know, there was a lot of other bands that, you know, obviously been in other bands, but I still talk to, like,
Right.
you know, like that we started out playing at Peanut Gallery and later on, like, Moontime Pizza, which is now Black Market.
Right.
And then that was a huge venue for bands like us back in that day, like early 2000s. And, you know, it was a fun time because, you know, even after your band, like, you started Dear Yesterday, which is another band that was in, you know, great band, you know, like, and now it's like you're on to the next thing, which is Lightning at the Opera, which is now one of my favorite bands.
What's the naming, man? Because I mean, I've joked with you about Lighting at the Opera,
You know,
Panic
I
at the
get
Disco,
a, you know,
but
man,
it's
I gotta be honest with you, I
fucking
get a
awesome.
lot.
It doesn't
of
matter,
shit.
man. The logo looks good.
right. It does, dude. It's a good fucking logo, man.
You know
like,
what? At the end of the day, man, like I got a lot of shit, and a lot of my friends, the way I joke with them, like I joke with you.
Right.
I mean, it's like tenfold. When I go and hang out with some friends, hey, how's Phantom of the Opera? And I'm like, you know, so I get a lot of crap. But I mean, there was Dave Grohl when he gave his South by Southwest, you know, keynote
Which
speech.
was freaking awesome.
You know,
Did you see that?
I actually missed that.
I was there and I missed it live in person, but I saw it on YouTube.
yeah, I saw it online.
That was awesome.
But I mean, he gave that whole thing about like it's not about we just fucking picked a name and it just sounded kind of cool at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at history of names of like I'm not saying we're one of the greatest bands of all time, but
Right.
you look at a band from they named themselves after a bug, the Beatles, and it's like well that's a fucking bug, but no one really looks at that. It's just
Right.
kind of I don't know. It's just a weird thing, but. Really has no instinct. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just lightning.
It's a good name, dude. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, probably Panic at the Disco is a name they just came up with too. But that's why I think I make that connection because it's just good. It's a good poppy like just interesting name. It makes you think. Lightning at the Opera. What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's kind of
good, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were
Dig it.
trying for, and we've gone through so many names and changing stuff, and we're just thinking too much of it, and then we're not really relying on or focusing on the music aspect of it.
Right.
Everything, but
Do you remember the names you scratched
Yeah.
out? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Let's hear. Let's
You
hear.
want
some.
to share some of those? Was it Unity 150, dude?
times two.
Yeah. Part 2.
Unity 152, dude.
Oh man, we had some messed up names, and that was and it was partially my ideas because I mean I'm a creative at day,
Right.
It's hard to make a living, as a musician, and when you do, those few that do that, I mean it's just a blessing.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
absolutely.
so-
I was talking to Mike about that earlier.
So when I have my own business and I do a lot of advertising and stuff, so
And see, that's the thing, dude, is you can tell. That's what I was telling Mike, is that's what I like about Ed, is you can tell based on how you handle things, man, that you're very, and not like sleazy marketing, you know your shit, you know how to market something, but not like in a bullshit kind of way, like you do it.
it's
really
harder
well,
to
man.
really I even contacted an old friend of mine to help us out brand a name for the group.
Mhm.
And the guy was busy because I mean you're your own worst own critic. You know what I mean when it
Right.
comes to developing a name or picking a logo or something like that. So for me it was really hard, and it just that name just kind of stuck out and stuff. So we ended up taking it and
Right.
fuck it, it's done. We don't care. It's not gonna change next week.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done. And with everything at that, it's just a process. It's just like everything else, just in the studio. You do your
Right.
drum tracks and all that stuff.
When you guys started the band, dude, how long have you guys been together? I mean, was it really just from the beginning of this year?
No, you know what? No, not. We actually had a change up. We had a. I wanted to focus more on the guitar aspects and stuff. I got all these cool pedals and
Right.
I got my little pedal train and
Sure.
shit. I didn't want to be fucking singing and dancing with my so
Tap dancing, dude?
yeah. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to focus on just jamming, and then
Right.
I kind of missed singing. And at that time, I was going through a lot of stuff with personal things.
Right.
So off and on about 3 years, with the main core guys and stuff. And
Right.
we had a bass player before, and like everything else, you get guys that mesh well, and some guys just don't. And
Right.
it's hard to just find unity within together. It's like having fucking 4 relationships, man. All at
Oh
once.
yeah, no, it totally is,
Yeah,
man.
recently you guys added a new bass player, right? Yeah, and that guy is from again San Antonio.
No, he's from Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay, right on.
I think so.
So the guy who played with you guys for your CD release, is that someone else, or is this a guy?
This is the same guy. This is the same guy.
So who played bass before him then?
It was actually nobody. We had nobody for a while.
Oh wow!
And we were playing our shows like that for a while. And you know, after a while,
just 2 guitarists and a drummer.
Yeah. So Chris Showman from Sonic was like, "Dude, what the fuck? Just fucking get a bass player, because it sounds empty." And we never really cared for it, but now that when Andrew doesn't show up for practice one day, we notice
you can
big
notice
difference.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny because Bobby used to play bass before, but now he's playing guitar.
Right.
And we often like joked around at the time, like, you know what, dude, I'm just gonna play bass. Screw it. I'm gonna be like, I want to be like Sting, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny, dude, is back in the day when I played with Devices and Shift, we always had this joke that because we all hated Adrian. We would tell him shit like, hey man, I think Mickey Box wanted to play drums for us, dude. And, you know, he was the drummer for Lila and Swim too, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, you know.
You know what? I just want to side note that Swim wasn't, like, I love that band. Like, you know, remember that demo?
Hey, get out of here, man.
Yeah, no. But that was the first CD that I have ever heard that had, like, what was it, that first white that said Swim, it had, like, 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah.
You know, back in that time, like, I never heard of anybody putting out like a CD like that was 2 or 3 songs. I didn't even know that was her.
Well, see, and that's the thing I've always noticed with Norman also, is Norman's also one of those guys who just like consistently just sticks onto shit, you know, like he'll
see it through.
Yeah, he'll see it through, like, you know, to its death, you know,
he'll like shove it down your face and you will
exactly.
See it.
And I'm not talking shit about him, but he is kind of like what I was talking about you, where it's 2 totally different things, you know, like Norman will try to push something down your throat where you will kind of just like make them aware of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with either of those approaches.
I will say though, like later on, Lila, like they were a hard-working band, man.
Dude, to this day.
Yeah. I don't even know they're still around.
They're still Murder FM is he's in this band called Murder FM, and
never knew that.
If I remember correctly, I think he toured with 30 Seconds to Mars.
Okay.
Or you know how he always is though, dude. He's like, oh, we're gonna tour with 30 Seconds to Mars, and it's like the bass player's side project or some shit, you know. But I mean, I love the guy, dude. But fuck,
Bobby and Chris played with them actually before we got together. So
with Murder FM?
No, with Lila.
Oh yeah, well yeah, obviously yeah.
Totally. So I mean, they did a lot of tours, you know, going Southwest region, stuff like that. And
they did a lot of South by Southwest, because during that time we were doing Warped Tour, and they did Warped Tour with us, my old band, and like they were always present, man.
Right.
Hard-working dudes.
Oh yeah, dude. I'll never not give them credit for that, because that definitely is.
And
true.
that was present before Lila, because they had Swim, man. I remember Swim was always in your face, man. Like during that time.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and well, back to kind of the creative stuff, how you're talking about, man. Like in your job, for like your day job or whatever, you're usually creative because it's marketing and stuff. So does that mean that like for the band itself, you're the most, you know, you push the creative stuff?
Yeah, I do everything as far as websites, programming, everything. So like I think of terms as a business, you know?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, granted, you love the art, you love what you do and stuff, but if you can make money doing what you love, that's a perfect job.
Right.
So I see it as in terms of a business platform, and I look at it as, okay, well, this is bad, and I've spent so much on this recording. Here's the ROI that I can maybe get back, but in reality, you know, I'm talking to a lot of people. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
Those kind of, you know, things are just not realistic when you're a band like ourselves, who are just starting up and doing our things and stuff. With the Roarke, they've got a different, you know, marketing platform. They got more, you know, stuff to push them up ahead and stuff. But with us, it's more of like what I see I can do on Facebook, what I can do on different things. And that's what it is, man. Back when I was, and I wish we had this, man, when I was a kid, you know, instead of backyard shows, I would fucking just put on a live stream and just jam, and then let people all over the fucking world just listen to the band. And
sounds pretty awesome.
You know,
that's the thing you can do now.
You totally can. Man.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
And kids now, they're not capitalizing on that. They just want to play the bigger shows, have the biggest amps. And I'm like, no, man.
Right.
I remember the PV, you know, 112.
Yeah, dude, fucking shitty little bandit on stage, dude.
Yeah, I remember that. And so I look back at those days and think like, man, if I had the marketing tools I have now,
you
know, how amazing. You look at the drive and consistent touring.
Right.
that was their niche, and that's all they did, and that's how they made it, which is consistent touring and touring and touring. Yeah. But nowadays, I mean, you look at the concept of rappers and like, well, how often do they go on tour?
Yeah,
they don't. Everything's online. Everything's marketed through so many ways and stuff. But so that's kind of where I see it now, and and I try to do it for the band. You know?
Well, and you could kind of see it also in terms of if how you mentioned just rap music and any kind of stuff like that. It's more marketable. So it's kind of. It's not as difficult for someone like that to book a show than it would be for like a band like us that's kind of more, just even though I think your music is still more marketable than like anything I would ever do, it's still harder for you to book a show than for someone like that's just hip hop, that just people, it just that kind of stuff puts people in this like happy mood all the time, where we tend to write music about like our fucking, bitch ass girlfriends that we had back in the day, or fucking, stupid shit like that.
There is an audience for everything.
No, there is, it's cool you brought that up, dude, because I've always said that there always is an audience for something. Right. The thing is the size of the audience, and the problem is when people start to focus too much on the size of that audience is when you start to realize like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for the audience, or am I doing it for myself? You know what I mean? You don't focus on that. At least that's my personal view.
Right. And there is a difference between playing to the audience and then playing because you want to play and you like to play. Right. But at the end of the day, like, everybody, in my opinion, is playing to the audience because everybody is trying to develop a following, no matter if you're a band or a hip hop artist, or a jazz trio. Like, the thing is that when you start playing, there's obviously people who like you that are gonna like you, maybe 1, 2, 10, 100, whatever. But when you develop that audience, you obviously have people interested in what you're doing. And when you actually do that, like, I think that, like, it's a good thing for bands to capitalize on, doing the social media, doing the advertising, having good, nice looking logos, having a brand, so to speak, so they can develop more of an audience to sell, bottom line, the t-shirts, the records, everything. Yeah. But not every band has the capability of doing that or the means of doing that. So I think it's not fair to say that the bands that take the advantage of doing that and do it well versus the bands or the artists that, are not necessarily good at that or don't care about that. There's no difference between the two. They're both kind of playing to their audience, even if their audience is themselves,
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to kind of, there's a lot of, division in that, but then it's all equal to like the whole outcome. I mean, in reality, both types of bands or artists are doing the same thing,
Right.
And I think that, if you're way more successful than the other person, it doesn't necessarily mean you're better. You just probably, you know what I mean? It just means that, perhaps maybe you got more people work for you, or you're better. You have a grasp of what social media site to go to promote.
Exactly. And see, that's why I'm glad you guys brought that up, because that was a point I wanted to bring up, dude, about how I brought it up with you before we started this, man, about how, like with all the type of, with all, like you said, like all the different types of media outlets out there, like social stuff, like just Facebook, Twitter, like there's so many different ways for bands to market themselves that the need for a record label on an indie level is like back in the day when we were in bands when we were younger, a lot of bands, that was their goal, is they wanted to be on a label. They wanted to do this because they felt that's the only way they could tour, that's the only way they could sell albums. And Mike being probably, the only guy in here who has a record label, well, aside from Asking Enemy Records, but, Asking Enemy Records, man. But, so aside, you're on a label, and you mentioned how it doesn't really do anything for you, like, I mean, it does. It does. I don't want to discredit it.
I mean, like, the bottom line is that, like, my whole life, and, like, we've been playing shows since we were younger, meeting people that are on labels, bigger bands, developing relationships, friendships. And I have done that. And the one thing I get time and time again, even still today, doing this, is that you don't need a label to do what you want to do, what you need to do.
Right.
What you and when you're on a label, successful or not, big or small, you know, multi-million dollar label versus $100 label, whatever, you know, there are some advantages depending on, you know, basically what you want to do with your band.
Right.
And honestly, like, even now, like, people tell me all the time, you don't need a label. Not because, you know, my band is on a label, but it's just like they have the experience of like, dude, like, you can still do this without it. You just have to become more smarter of doing it. Like,
right.
you know, and, you know, it's a little bit more of a struggle. And the label that we're on, like, they do a lot for us, and we love our label, and, like, you know, the staff there is phenomenal.
Right.
But the thing is that, like, bottom line, we would still be doing the royalty would still be doing the royalty if we weren't on the
If you weren't on it, right.
And probably to the same degree that we are. It's
right.
just, you know, like, we have other resources now
yeah.
to expand on.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think Thursday was Signed to Victory, weren't they?
Yeah.
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 And if I remember correctly, there was something that happened with them and Victory that was kind of evident of what record labels tend to do to bands, and they kind of like screw you over. I don't know if you'd be willing to talk about this because you told me about this before, but the way how you guys have your what the terms of your contract were, where it's every year you have to release an album.
Yeah, the band signed a 4-record deal, but what's interesting, what a lot of people don't know is that, like, you know, they have options, like every other label has options, like
right.
probably every other contract has options, where they can choose to do it or not to do it every year, depending on, you know, everything.
Right.
But luckily, like, our label's cool and they want to work with us and we want to work with them, and like they chose the option to do it this year, so we're doing it this year, and that's cool, you know, like, you know, that's the help that we could use,
right?
And you know, we're definitely using it. But aside from all that, though, like, you know, to remember back in the day when, you know, when bands were developing, you know, their own records. You know, there wasn't really a coalition or a label in which was present here to do it.
Right.
You know, and that's why you yourself, you know, went your own way to do your own label, manufacture your own records, put out the records you like. You did yours. I had a small label too, like when I was younger, Roarke, that I tried to put out records too, and it was only because I wanted to.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. No.
and the reason why was because the bands that I was fans of basically didn't have the finances to create a record,
right?
And therefore T-shirts, you know, stuff like that. So I think a whole foundation of a label on a bigger or small label has one goal, is to get the record out to as many people that you know they have the ability to get to, you know, and that's basically what big or small labels do, and it really doesn't matter, you know, and whether they choose to work with the artist or not. I think that, you know, any help is good help, you know what I mean?
So even in speaking in terms of a smaller label, like myself, I would, you know, Bobby asked, why don't we just do our own label and this and that? I'm like, I know in every day that sounds fancy and stuff, but like himself, you know, Winter Records, it was more of a chance to lose more of an opportunity where you don't gain that ROI, and you don't have that opportunity to really, hey, what if that band just splits up, and then what? Now you got all this merch,
right.
You got all this stuff you got to deal with, and, you know, of course you could donate and stuff, but at the end of the day, as a bigger label, they have more resources to open doors that.
Yeah, for distribution and stuff like that.
Right.
Because that's what a lot of people don't notice, is that there's a difference between a record deal and like a distro deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are complete differences between those.
Right. And some bands, like indie bands, like go straight to the distro deal
Yeah.
or the licensing deal, where they license their record for distribution.
Right.
Like, that's one avenue you can do to not get into a contract label per se. But like, the cool thing is that there's other avenues that you can distribute your record.
Right.
And here's what I want to get to, because I know you know all about this, is that
well, it was one of my things, and you're bringing these things up, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because
Well,
they're notes that I had, and I'm like, holy shit.
this isn't anything new for indie bands or for smaller bands. If you want to release a record, you got plenty of avenues. iTunes, Amazon, Spotify.
Right.
How do you get your records on those platforms? Basically, there's services like TuneCore, who allow you to distribute your music to all of these, avenues. You don't need a record label.
Right.
And this is not anything new. This has been TuneCore has been a company that has helped independent artists put their fucking music on iTunes, on Spotify, on Amazon, all the Windows, whatever. I don't know if they still got their
media
Zoom.
player.
Zoom, But here's the thing though, like and it's a small fee that you pay and you collect royalties off of it.
Right.
You know, any band, any person who makes a record could actually use that as a tool to distribute their record. So the whole idea of distribution deal digitally is at the tip of your hands, and it's really cheap for artists. You know what I mean? Spotify, man, is the best thing in the world right now.
Well, see, and then and that's the thing is you do that by you can also do it by like cdbaby.com. And
that's another avenue.
I mean,
that's kind of what our route. We did the CD Baby, and they had all these distribution lists, and it was like there's different options to pick royalties from such and such. I mean, they even have
and it's just like check all.
Yeah.
It's like why the hell not?
And
exactly.
And they have an API integration with BMI. So if you're a registered BMI player, they pay you regardless, man.
Right.
You know?
Then the next step, when you get that, click of a button distribution, which is not a big fee. It's like, to maintain, it's like how much a month, whatever.
Right.
Like, $10-$20 a month, whatever. And basically, don't quote me on that. I'm just guessing. But I remember it being cheap, and even still today. But once you get to that deal, then the whole next thing is publicists. You hire a publicist.
If you're not a good one yourself.
Yeah, if you're not a good one yourself, then you fucking you try to get the band out there and maybe like sell licensing to your record. That way you can get the royalties through. The BM.
And I was actually going to ask you, man, are you guys at all part of like a performance right organizations?
BMI.
Like BMI, you?
BMI.
Are you do?
I know the band is associated with ASCAP
just for those guys for people out there who don't know what a PRO is, it's basically I'm sure you've seen it like on CDs that you guys buy. It says like ASCAP, CSAC, BMI. They're just performing right organizations that. When you perform your songs like on tour or whatever, they pay you royalties for performing that song.
Right.
And you can be part of that a lot easier now than you could back in the day, and it's simply by manufacturing your disc through like disc makers and putting it up on CD Baby, and they do it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they put you on iTunes, Spotify.
That's another
Pandora.
avenue. There's so many avenues to do these things, and like honestly, like all you got to do is write the record you want and put it up there and develop an audience for yourself.
Right. We have a question from Daniel Rivera, and he says, what option do you think is better, CD Baby or TuneCore? And
I'm a fan. I've been working with TuneCore in my previous projects and bands. I love TuneCore. But CD Baby, you've had success with them.
I personally love CD Baby.
I really do like CD Baby. They just added a new pro thing, and it's like $150 to submit your whole album, but the distribution list is just amazing. They got so many other things. They give you so many options that you can have it. I don't know if TuneCore does, but I mean, you can do a lot of things with it.
Well, TuneCore...
it's all digital.
Right. Yeah, so that's the point. That's the difference I wanted to make, is that, CD Baby is very, like, physical. Well, they obviously do all the digital stuff for you, too. But they also focus on physical media. So if you have discs... you basically send them, I think it's 5 discs, and they keep them in stock. They charge you like $50 for that first thing or whatever.
Do you know if they do vinyl? Do you know if they do?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, man.
That's a good question.
I actually have a friend, Zeke, who's a DJ who actually prints his own vinyl too.
I just gotta say that vinyl is the best thing out there right now. Like, it's what sells.
Is that still a thing, dude?
Dude,
that's still hit?
Vinyl's the bomb, dude.
Really? I don't know, man. I still have never experienced it.
Here's
myself,
the thing. The coolest thing that I know. The coolest thing that I know is like, my band. We travel extensively throughout the United States, and like every time we go on tour, we have CDs and we have vinyl. People always buy the vinyl because it comes with if you have the means to include a digital download. They pay for the vinyl for vinyl prices. $15 is pretty good.
Is it
for
$15 like a disc
a
or
record?
vinyl?
A record. as opposed to $10 for a CD. That's the
Right.
minimum price for a full length, whatever. You can
Right,
go
right.
even lower. But a lot of the times when you have a full length, the cost on it's like $7, whatever.
Right.
So on a vinyl, depending on where you get your vinyl, you can get it for as low as $6, maybe $8. Sell it for 15, you're making more margin than you are on a CD.
Right.
But people like the notion of buying a record because, like what Ed said, vinyl is in,
Yeah.
and people like spinning vinyl. And even if you don't, you still get the digital download, which means you can still put it on your iPad,
Right.
iPod, smartphone. So it's like, for me, what I'm seeing right now today is vinyl is the way to go, because you make more money off of it physically. And that's why I asked, if CD Baby does vinyl? Because if that'd be a great avenue.
I'm
for
not sure if they do. I mean, I know that
I'm not sure.
a lot of people, there's that whole conception of, digital's better than vinyl, vinyl's better than digital.
Yeah, but
I mean, you look
that's
at
all subjective.
yeah, that's a whole different subject itself. But when you look at it, honestly, it's more of a preference, and
Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah,
Some people like, when you go to the show, you can buy the CD or you can buy the vinyl. It's nice to have the artwork, the vinyl, to
Fuck
put
yeah.
it up on the wall. Never fucking play it if you don't have a record player, or some people like to play it.
You know what? Well, that's weird because I actually did that for the Jealous Sound. Like they played here not
Yeah,
too long
yeah,
ago, and
yeah.
I bought their vinyl, and I'm never gonna fucking
You're
play
never
it, but
gonna
I
play
got
it.
it signed by them, and it's just there. It's. I mean, I have their CD too.
Souvenir
so,
piece.
Yeah,
Right.
it really is.
Did their vinyl come with a download card?
No, not that I'm aware
That
of.
would have been
Yeah.
top notch. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think there was.
And those are just all those little marketing niches that you gotta capitalize on. Like
Right.
get the vinyl, you get a download.
Well, Daniel asked again. He said, "My band is planning on putting out an EP in October, and we want to get the best bang for our buck." But honestly, I think that's. It depends on what he means by best bang for his buck, because then
For
if-
manufacturing?
Exactly, because if you're not going to manufacture a disc, fucking digital, you save a shit ton of money.
Here's the
but
thing
then-
about this. Bandcamp is a great fucking fork in the road where you can put out the record.
Right.
You can give it for free.
And it's like
you can
that.
it's like that instant.
Yeah.
Download cards.
You can record one song
You can
that day,
create
practice, and it's
Great
like
download
this sounds good
cards
enough,
from
and put
it.
out.
Like it. I'm a firm believer that if you're a new band, you're trying to start something new, a new project, give the fucking music for free.
Yeah.
Because no one, I'm sorry to say that it's just the reality of the scenes all across, the nation. People don't want to pay for music. And that's apparent because you don't have to pay for it if you don't want to. The thing is though, is that when you give it for free,
You don't appreciate it as much.
you don't appreciate it as much, but you have it.
Yeah.
I get plenty of people at the show. They were like, "Oh, I don't have money for your CD, but I really like the band." You know what? I would rather them take the fucking CD and I lose $7 on it
Right.
than me fucking try to get $3 out of it.
See, I'm super glad you brought that up, dude, because the reason I'm doing the Howard Roarke stuff as a name your price on the CD.
Yeah,
right?
I heard it. Yeah,
Yeah.
You said that last week. Yeah.
The reason I'm doing that is for the same reason you're saying. $5 to someone is $10 to someone else. $2 to someone is $1 to someone else.
Right.
Everyone is different, and it's kind of like the whole idea of just pushing individualism. Let someone decide for themselves what this value is. It's not like, oh man, like Ed, I've known you for a while, dude. You're gonna pay $2 for my CD. No, that. If that's what you want to pay for it, that's fine. That's. I'd rather you. And the reason I also said is, but you will have to pay, is because I want people to care about stuff.
It's like that download album that it was like a long time ago. I think it was I forgot the band. I know.
It was Radiohead.
Radiohead.
Oh, Nine Inch Nails did it too, and I think Madonna did.
No,
it
they
too.
were the
but
ones
Radiohead was completely successful at
Well,
it.
yeah,
They
yeah.
fucking killed it.
they
you
gave
know?
away
It's
their
'cause
full
I
length.
think
Yeah.
Radiohead still has that indie-ness to them, where they have more respect than
But
Madonna.
that's
like
a
Madonna
perfect-
putting up a free CD.
that's
What?
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. They gave away the record for free. They still sold fucking.
Well, technically they didn't, but they did say name your price, and there were people paying a penny for it. or
Right.
whatever. But yeah.
They still made money. Here's the thing: art is gonna cost anyways. You're gonna do your art anyhow.
Right.
No matter if you're a painter, you're a musician, you're fucking a podcast dude. You're gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
If you want people to pay for it, you have to develop an audience. If you want to develop an audience and you're getting started, you have to give it away for free.
Right.
You know, I'm a firm believer of free. Now, I'm a hypocrite because obviously, like, our band doesn't give shit for free, but we do have download cards. So we give some shit for free, and we give some things for free that we can't afford to. Problem is we're trying to make a living off of this because we have to. We have to. If we didn't have to, it would be free.
Right. So it's easier for me to do that. You know, with City Baby, they gave us about 300, you know, close to 1,000 download cards, and that's how I'd go. I would go to your shows, anybody else's shows, and I'd just be giving cards away. Yeah. Like, here, download the single. Who are you guys? We came to see this other band.
Exactly.
But, you know, I'm just trying to market myself that way so I can bring
that works too. Actually, download the single.
Yeah, and see, again, that goes back to the whole idea, dude, of not shoving something down someone's throat. You're just making them aware. If they like it, cool.
There's many different ways of doing this. One way is your way. Pay your price. Pay what you think is fair. That's one way. Another way is free. Another way, hey, download the single. Check it out. If you don't like it, you know, there it is. Yeah. There's many avenues to get the music out there without distribution, without the means. But the digital distribution out there is fucking amazing right now. Right. Like, people, indie bands should take advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over. Like, they even give you an option of, do you want to go to the world and get paid or not? Like, just put it out.
Yeah. We'll take 10 more cents from your sale.
Right. It's not even much.
It's enabling you to be in the store in Japan or China.
Right. And see, the difference I wanted to make there also is that, you know, like how you said, Mike, that your point was that, you know, you guys can't because, you know, obviously I'm sure it's more of a label thing. Like, the label requires you to have to sell a certain amount of CDs. And if you haven't sold that many, then you're kind of, it's a contract. You know,
well, the way it is like, we pay there's a cost to everything. Right. You know, when you manufacture, when you make your record, when you make your CDs, you pay to get those, and then you
resell them just like any,
resell them.
You know, Amazon,
you buy them wholesale per se. Then you resell them, you know, at the MSRP, which is the sales price, and then you make your money with the margin of what the cost is plus what the MSRP is.
You reorder, you record.
Okay,
again
so basically, when you're on a label, it works to the T of that. You know, like, where you buy the CDs, you buy the record, you buy the CD, you buy the T-shirts, and you have a cost. Now, you can give away as many of those fuckers as you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to pay for the cost. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way retail works. That's the way businesses work. You know, that's the way anything works. So when you're an indie band and you're working on your record, when you're developing your CDs, you're going to pay for that shit anyways. Right. No matter if you're paying it out of your pocket or some guy with a fucking big label, small label, medium label is paying for it. No matter what. The difference is that when you're an indie band, it's more exciting because you have the control to say,
here it is.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Or not.
Absolutely.
Or not.
So I mean, back to Daniel Howie was asking about the bang for his buck. I mean, honestly, it really just comes down to that, right? I mean, if you wanna record a like I told Mike, a CD, a disc that you can have, you can break, you can hold, you can smell, you know, then it's gonna cost you more, but you could still digitally distribute it. It just distribute it. It just depends on
for cheap.
Yeah, and it is. It's relatively cheap. It really, really is. But there's all sorts of different avenues where you can just do it digitally. You don't need to print. You don't need to make a disc. Right. It's 2013, dude.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's the thing, though. A buddy of mine that I met actually in Sonic Ranch. His name is Mitre, and he's really big in Italy. And he's still his niche was or is releasing a single out.
Right. And is he a DJ?
No, he's an artist and stuff, Mexican artist and stuff. He's from Mexico City, but the way his thing was like, I don't want to do physical CDs. I want to do digital downloads. So for the first month, I'll release one single. The next month, I'll do another single. Right. And then I'll have everything all together. And then at the end of the whole year, I'll release the whole album.
Yeah, and you know what? People do that. And they do it like on a subscription-based kind of thing.
You know who did that and grabbed my attention as a fan? Like, you know, I'm a music fan. I'll buy records if I want to. Like, if I like the band, I'll buy the record. But a band years ago, man, May, they were on Tooth and Nail.
Oh, yeah.
They did this early on before I'd ever heard of that. They released one song, 1 month. 2 months go by, they release another song, another single. Yeah. Month go by, they release another song. 2 weeks go by, they release the next song. The end of the year, they released the whole record for a premium price of like very cheap.
See, but
it worked for them.
But did they do that as like behind a paywall, their fan club got the song?
No,
and then they
no.
released it.
It was
everything. It was to everybody.
It was to everybody, and you know what? I bought every song for $1 when it came out.
Right.
And by the end of the fucking the year, or X amount of fucking like time frame, I bought the whole record. But when the full record came out on disc,
you still bought it. Yeah.
See, and that's the thing too, is you could have a niche with it. You could say like, this is a story. So it's just like a book, like Harry Potter, you've got book 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Right.
This first song talks about the artist, and it's like, oh my gosh, what is he feeling? And then it goes on to the next.
Even better example, like, you know, I do this all the time. Like, I'm a music fan. I buy song and records from bands I really like. So if you have a package deal of like this one band, like one of my favorite punk rock bands called Propaganda, they were on Fat. Now they're.
I remember them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still making records still to this day. They're fucking an old band. One of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
And so they released like a few years ago, like they released a record, a brand new record. It was independent, pressed by them. They included a poster. They included a T-shirt. They included the digital download on iTunes for free. Wow. It was all like $12, and guess what? They got all of my $12 plus I bought a T-shirt. Because I was excited
because
that it was a package.
Engaged. Yeah, they kept you engaged.
And I was like,
that's the thing, man.
I was like, man, that's a good deal, man.
Yeah.
Digital download plus the physical CD plus a poster. And if I had an option for a T-shirt, they would throw it in for half price.
Right.
So I ended up paying like maybe $20 for all of that shit.
Right.
And they made out because I know a digital download doesn't cost shit.
Yeah.
I know that a fucking a record CD costs $6-7 to manufacture.
Yeah.
You know, they made their $10 their profit margin, and then the poster probably cost them $1 to manufacture.
Yeah.
So they got my full 20. They made money, and I was happy.
Well, see, and this goes into the other thing I wanted to talk about, man, was like studio time, because I know how you said, you know, the digital download didn't cost them anything, but technically it kind of did, depending on where they went to record stuff, you know?
Sure.
Like, for example, I recorded with Gabe at Clap of Thunder, and I went that route not only because I knew the guy, I felt comfortable with him, you know, and it's kind of like going to the doctor. Like, you know, you want to go with someone that you're comfortable with, because otherwise you're not gonna feel comfortable, and you're not gonna feel confident telling them, hey, I got syphilis. You know what I'm saying? That's a strange analogy, but that's my point. You know what I'm saying? You got to have like trust in these people.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about why you went with Sonic Ranch, because personally, I feel that Sonic Ranch, and again, this is just my opinion of it. Sonic Ranch, I've always felt was it's a really nice studio, but it's just, especially for me that I do everything myself, it's a lot of money you would have to pay. You know what I mean?
I look at more of in terms of an experience as far as working with professionals.
Exactly.
I mean, if you think of like, oh man, I want to buy this best car. I want to save up my money. I want to buy a great car. Why are you going to buy a hoopty? You know, you're going to buy something expensive, something great that you're going to go to A to B, or maybe you don't care about that, so you just want to put something out. For me, it was more the experience, and at the time, Chris had told me, hey dude, you know,
Chris, your drummer.
Chris Schumann, he's a engineer. He used to work at Sonic.
I thought Justin Leia did you guys' stuff.
No, it was Chris Schumann.
Oh, okay. Shit, sorry about that, dude.
So, going back to that, you know, he told me, I know this is a shitty ass time, but during the holidays, like New Year's Eve and all that, the studio's kind of dead.
Yeah.
So I can probably get you a good rate, man. So I was like,
okay, well there you go.
So I was like, all right, well let's do it. Fuck it. So I can get you like 3 or 4 days. We did all that, but like everything else.
Did it take 3 or 4 years?
No, it never does. And
it never does.
No,
it took me 3 years to do this fucking thing.
See, and even that, we weren't still happy with the final product because it was just we didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
And and we were on a time thing. When we look at it now, it's like as you guys have the time. If you guys got 7 days, man, you got 7 days. You got 24 hours.
And for the most part, I would assume most of you guys like probably don't have day jobs, and you spend 7 fucking days there. You know? Like that is a dream.
So
dude.
I mean, going there, you've seen all these artists. You know, I saw Hanson, I saw Rome, I saw a couple other people there. They're just eating. I'm eating lunch with them and all
living there, basically, right?
Yeah, and they're there for a whole month. Rome was there for 2 weeks, and it was just.
So basically, what you're saying, one day to you is like 5-6 hours.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that you can't do a record in like
So,
4 or 5 days.
So it was
unless you know your shit and all your stuff is set and you're going in there and just straight recording.
I'll give you this. I'll give you that to Sonic is that we were there. I mean, drums alone took us about 17 hours.
Right.
And we were there the whole 17 hours. You know?
So did you guys not track everything live? You guys
No, it was
did
all individual.
overdubs and stuff like
It was
that, or individual?
Yeah,
Okay.
individual. And it was just more of the concept, and there were some techniques that and that's why I wanted to go see the
Just to learn.
techniques.
Yeah.
And learn, get that feedback back, and talk to the multi-million winner for sound engineering.
Yeah.
You talk to all these people, you get all this information. There's producers there, so for me it was more of a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid a lot, but we all paid a lot. We all pitched in, and at the end of the day, dude, it was more of a learning experience, and we're happy with it. Of course, we want to do more.
You always want to do more. Man.
So
yeah.
now, back in hindsight, when we have the CDs and we're playing, it's like, we got them for $5. We'll give them for $3.
Yeah.
Or you know what? As you guys said, just pay us whatever you guys have. And sometimes we'll give 10 or whatever. But you look at it now, it's like, dude, I want to go back in the studio and do this other stuff. Like I was telling you, don't you want to put out something else already since you?
Dude. Before that was even done, I mean, honestly, that CD was supposed to have 10 songs originally, but I split it based on Gabe's. It was a good idea because I had 10 songs and it was taking longer to finish all 10 songs, and his advice was basically release the first half and then release the second half. Almost a couple months later or whatever, but at least it kind of lets you release something like almost immediately after that, so that you're kind of not forgotten, I guess, kind of.
Right.
And it made sense, and especially the layout of how I wanted to release the album is in parts anyway, So it totally made sense. But yeah, man, I mean, even once you release it, you're like, I still could have gone back and edited this.
And that's my drummer.
Yeah.
My drummer's like, no, Ed. You should have fucking been a dick, dude.
That's how he talks. No, Ed.
No, fuck Ed. You should have done this. We're paying for this shit. It should have sounded like this. It wasn't my snare. It was.
You know what, dude?
It was your
totally
snare.
See that
it was your
Chris,
fucking
man.
snare.
Yeah.
Every time I've ever recorded, it's never the snare I envisioned for the record.
Right?
Bottom line.
Well, and you know what, dude? And I find it awesome because when Gabe was recording my set's been the same drum set I've had since I would probably say high school, man.
Whoa. The red one? The red
but
Tama?
exactly. But I took all the shells off and painted it. I painted it like 5 times already.
That's awesome.
But Gabe had this like hardcore ass fucking time trying to get the tom because there's this like dent in the ring, the rim that holds the head down. But he still made it sound phenomenal. And he took the time to do it where like most engineers would probably be like, all right, shit set up, just put some mics on it.
Yeah,
Gabe like tuned the fucking set. He had a piano there and was like tuning it to, because he's all into like tuning the drums to like actual keys.
Yeah, that's what we did as well.
Fuck,
So
isn't that crazy? That's what
I
adds
didn't
like
know that
5
either.
hours of work to that.
Right, see, I didn't
shit,
know that, right? So Mitra's like, hey, well, we're going to tune, what key do you usually play on? So we play in the key of D.
You're like,
so
what?
So he's there tuning the whole stuff, right? And then Chris is like, we're there, and he's tracking drums, and then something doesn't sound right, and he's like, well, Chris is like, the engineer is like, well, why don't you just try this snare and that snare?
Yeah.
We'll try this tom. Oh, fuck yeah. So before we knew it, dude, he has pretty much studio equipment with the exception of the fucking snare.
Yeah.
And
wow.
But yeah, everything was tuned to D, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, tune your drums to what you're playing.
Yeah, no, seriously, because I think it's amazing, dude. I mean, like, even though I'm sure we've all been musicians for so long, it's still something. It's like learning, you know.
It's like, what the fuck?
I don't
I
know.
knew you had to tune your drum set, but
here's the thing: I don't know anything about drums. I'm not a drummer, but
Right.
I know when a drum is not in tune.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. But did you know it was supposed to be to a key?
Or
like I just
where
know
a
it's
drum
like it's
sounds
not
like
supposed to
shit.
sound like that. Okay, it's sounding good. All right, it's set.
Yeah.
But nah, dude, fuck, that was intense, man. I fucking love that.
How was Gabe though? Like Gabe was a good engineer.
Oh, dude,
he's
yeah,
awesome,
and
man. That guy's.
The sad part is that they closed the studio down.
I heard
the studio itself. Gabe says he's still doing like engineering stuff.
The Clap of Thunder. That's what.
The Clap of Thunder recording stuff. They closed that down, but he was mixing the Howard Roarke album at Tricky Falls. Like, just I don't know if it's through the PA, but he said that a lot of the Sparta stuff they were recording there, like.
Cool.
at the venue because just the atmosphere is just, it's live, you know, it's a nice venue for recording drums.
It's a big sound room.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, he's fucking phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like from the minute I walked in and he started tuning my drums, I was like, I'm at the right doctor, man. I'm gonna tell this guy.
I'm gonna tell him I have syphilis.
Yeah, fuck yeah. No, but you know, it's a stupid analogy, but
yeah,
you get
I know
the
what
point,
you mean, man. I'm just giving you shit.
But the other thing I wanted to touch on too, man, was I thought, if I remember correctly, you funded your guys' CD with Kickstarter.
Yeah, we started off at Kickstarter. You know what the funny thing was is we got close to it, and here's my concept. I was like, you know what? I love Kickstarter. I mean, they've got some great ideas. We got honestly really close to our budget, and then we didn't get it. So you think at $4 or $5 grand, right? And you don't get that money. So it made me rethink about how bands need to be. So I started thinking like, you know, well, maybe I'm gonna develop a site for musicians only and fuck Kickstarter and say, hey, if you want to donate for this band and pay $10, whether they get it or not, whether they use it, you've given it, and they take that money and they can use it whatever they want.
Essentially, Kickstarter without the reserve.
Exactly.
Well, you know, have you heard of Indiegogo?
No.
That's what they do.
Really?
Yeah, Indiegogo, like you support something, if they don't reach like what their goal was, they still get that money from it.
See, we did so much, man. We did some video work. We were at Adobe, and
how close did you get?
Like $1,000. Like,
that's horrible.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what, dude? My thing, and
like I was tempted myself to put
put it in there.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And see, okay, and I'm not being dick by saying this, but that's what I'm saying is like, should you not have done that yourself to begin with?
And that's the case too. Is that but here's the whole marketing scheme that we're trying to do. Is that hey, here's the buzz. We're this band. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. So there's always a marketing niche as far as branding yourself because who knows, who are we like?
Exactly. Exactly. It's kind of. That's what I've always thought. It's kind of like Kickstarter is kind of like the new generation's panhandling.
Yeah.
You know, you're basically just, hey, can I have some money to do this? But the difference is in that, dude, that's why I fucking love you, Ed. Like, because you brought up the exact point I wanted to make is that, personally, I wouldn't do a Kickstarter, but I understand the point of doing it to where you still, because you're doing these videos that make people aware of the band, they become aware of the band.
Right.
You know, it's not just, oh, we want your money. It's like, hey, you know, this is, and your guys' videos, and that's the thing, man. Those videos are phenomenal. Yeah. They weren't just like you sitting in a fucking room saying, hey, you know, we're a band, we want your money. No, you guys, whoever did your guys' video was amazing. Yeah. It was thought provoking. It was well thought out, man. Yeah. It was a really good marketing thing,
and that's what it was, just to gain more of a fan base, so that when we start going in, we start still to, hey, it doesn't matter, thank you so much. The ones who did participate, by the way, there is a download for this.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's always an incentive, regardless.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
You engage in it.
You know, the marketing I see there is basically, okay, we didn't get our funding, but those of you who did, here's what else.
Yeah. So we gave them incentives. Yeah. You know, I'm a programmer, dude. So it's like we don't have to have that extra cost where we can develop we can just shit talk like we're talking right now. Like, oh yeah, I'll develop it tomorrow. And we had a link that would expire after it was downloaded when it was given to an email address. Right. So those are kind of the things that we did when we didn't, reach our goal. But it was more of like, it was fun, man. It was really fun. And a lot of people gave and. I mean, we would have a Kickstarter party at the house, man.
You know what?
No way.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Well, only you would have done it because you're the marketer. Yeah. But here's the thing. That's a great idea, though. Like, I like Kickstarter. I like the idea.
Right.
I would probably never start a Kickstarter of my own because, like, there's a fine. I mean, like you said, like, it's kind of weird when you start panhandling for your art.
Exactly.
You know, it's a weird vibe. It's a weird vibe going because, like, honestly. I'm with the old school notion of like, hey man, if you really like your art, you really think your art is good, you should pay for it yourself and get it out there. Right. But on the other side, I'm halfway in where like, hey man, there's enough people to support your Kickstarter like project, dude, give it a shot. Ed absolutely did, and he was successful at it into a point where he was like, hey, you know, this is our band, we're trying to do this. If not, that's cool. Right. But guess what? This is what's happening.
We already knew that we weren't gonna get and we put like some ridiculous amount, like a CD costs $12,000.
Yeah.
We're only asking.
But you guys broke it down. You
Yeah.
guys made sense of what everything was needed for. You know.
See, and that's what we want to educate people, is because people don't know. And I'm not saying about just people. Like, I'm just saying, the guy that's gonna buy your CD who doesn't know anything about your pedals that you put in money into,
Right.
the mixing board, your bass rig, even your fucking guitar strings, like how much it all adds up to something where it makes sense. So what I want to do is educate people to say, hey, this is what it costs for us to come in here, where you can just download a song and hear it for 3 minutes and be like, it was alright, click.
Right.
And for us, it was like, you don't understand. That was like 3 days in the studio just recording that one song.
And you're just talking about recording.
Yeah.
Like there is still like months that you're writing the song.
Right. So even before about this preparation, there's all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
Change ups, there's lyrics made. It's completely.
It's extensive.
It's a really. There's not a price. It's almost like those MasterCard or Visa commercials. It's priceless to put on a figure on something.
Yeah.
So we just threw a fucking number out there. I was like, we're not gonna get it, but let's make a buzz.
And, and you know what, I like that because when most independent businesses start out, they have the Better Business Bureau that will allow them to apply for grants, and they'll get help starting their small business.
Right.
Well, a lot of times indie bands are small businesses trying to do something, make a product, develop it to potentially make enough money to maybe perhaps create another product and maybe get a little bit of profit.
Right.
Now, there's not an avenue where not a lot of people view art and bands and people who are artists as small businesses, and a lot of times it takes a small investment that the band doesn't have the ability to actually go out there and get funding for, like a real small business could do, like at the Better Business Bureau, or at the small business, society or whatever. Like
you get a business loan at a bank and get like $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's not feasible for people who have passion, who have good creative thought, good art, want to put it out there in the world. It's hard. It's way harder, and that's why I like Kickstarter, and that's why I like Indiegogo and stuff like that.
Because that it's totally makes sense.
You know what I mean? It's the same double standard of just some dude off of Alameda wanting to start his fucking taco stand, but doesn't have the means to do it. You know what I mean? It's like he can go to those avenues and get help, get information.
Yeah, and then ultimately it just depends on whether his tacos are really good, and if they're not, then he fails on his own because his tacos just sucked.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. But it's those pig-headed idiots that just like I've always told you, man. Those dudes that think they deserve something without, it's kind of like how we were talking about, like a band who nobody knows, and yet they're going on Kickstarter to try and get money. But they're absolutely not known, but they have this thing about well, we want your money to finish this record. What have you done that I could hear that I could get an idea of what you sound like? That's what I'm saying, Ed. You had Unity 150, you had other projects that people were familiar with. It's like. And just,
but even if that, we had people that were like, hey, why am I giving you $10 for this and this and this and that? And I was
when I don't even know what
I totally get that. I totally get that. I think Kickstarter is more of a technology base where if I'm making an iPhone case that's gonna do this and this and this and that,
something physical.
Yeah, then I could see Kickstarter helping out with technology businesses and stuff like that, startups.
And they do.
They do well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to musicians and stuff, that I think it's more of honestly, it's a marketing buzz, man, to do it.
Yeah.
Because you gotta make your videos, you gotta do your stuff, and sometimes I saw on there this one singer-songwriter from Maine. She I need $185,000 to do this.
No one needs $185 to make a record.
But she was like, the way I'm gonna do my process is I'm gonna be painting at the shows. I'm gonna be doing this, and then we're gonna be giving. Dude, she got her goal.
Really?
It went to $200,000.
Dude, you could do a really great record for
Dude, you could get all that money and just leave the country and be like, fuck you guys, I'm done with my art.
Right.
I got paid for it up front. Why am I even gonna buy it?
I see.
Mentality that those people have.
I've gone on Kickstarter and checked out the successful stories of people that have gone above their mark, and I'm seeing these bands that wow, people funded $5,000, people funded $10,000, people funded $20,000, 30, 40. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy fuck.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you don't need 40 grand to make a record. Not today.
Oh yeah.
You don't even need 15.
Yeah.
And that's like the small standard
That's true, man.
of an indie record.
Yeah.
You know, like you need fucking like you could do a good record for about 3 grand.
Well, and
$2
then
grand.
you think
maybe
about
more.
it's weird because you think about like how At the Drive-In and like Relationship of Command is probably like their most or you know, I guess Omar would have a different way of saying it, but well-produced record. You know, it's overall, it sounds good and everything. The reason I bring that up is because there was an article where he wrote that Relationship of Command is actually the album he's the least, like he fucking hates that album just because of all the crap or whatever.
Right.
But that album took $250,000 to record. And you think about it and you're like, I mean, it sounds good, but who of their fans really know that?
No,
You know what I mean? Like,
see, and that's the cool thing about like Sonic Ranch is like when I actually sat down with the owner and I sat down with the Marcos and you know they've got options for indie bands.
Yeah, most really like most legitimate like recording facilities do have options for indie bands.
Right.
You know, 6 grand, 5 grand, 3,
Right.
2, 1.
Yeah.
well, I was gonna ask
One
you,
band.
Ed, you don't have to, say exactly how much they charged you, but you know what their normal
I mean, we
rate
put out,
is?
we put out an EP, which was not even really an EP. We only put out like 3 songs. We spent
That's an
about
EP.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent about 3 or 5 grand, and it was really at half the rate that we
But
should have been
everything was done there. Like you did everything. They mixed it and
Mixed
and
it.
you left
Yeah.
those 3 days, and here's your disc.
Yeah, we mixed, we mastered, we recorded, we even stayed there. We ate their food.
Right.
I mean, it was like I said,
Full on experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind
It's
of
a
the
great
thing is that's
experience.
what they offer. That they do.
Right.
That's why they're so out there. You
right,
go,
and
you
it's
do your
awesome,
thing.
man. You go out there
Come
and
back.
you become part of that like little niche and stuff, and it's just kind of fun. So they actually have a package. I think it's like 10 grand, and they'll do a full-fledged album for you.
I think
Indie.
that's what Antigone did
Indie.
because I think
Yeah.
that's what they charged them. and
Recently? Yeah, I heard they got back together, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they recorded their album, and I think I remember that's how much Jacob said they charged him or the band, I guess.
Yeah.
I saw that recently. I want to hear that.
Yeah, it's good. I have it all.
You have it?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Actually, you could probably even find it on Spotify, dude, because that's what I'm saying. I think
Really?
they even printed their stuff through
Nice.
disc makers.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, dude, let's go ahead and take a break. We hit an hour straight on, so let's take a break and then we'll come back maybe just a couple more minutes and talk about like I don't know tour stories or some shit. That cool?
Sweet.
Yeah. All right, guys, we'll be right back.